Hey class, so today we're going to be making a simple ceramic clay owl that you guys can use with your class. Hey class, Mr. G here. Today we're going to be making these simple ceramic owls using very simple materials and using very simple tools, stuff that you guys already got around the classroom. You don't have to go out and get specialty ceramic tools to make this project, and I want to use that as a jumping off point. So today, some of the tools that I went around, scrounged around my classroom for, I did get, this might be what some might be considering a specialty item, which is a palette knife. This it's a little plastic knife that you use to spread around different types of paint. Particularly anything that is going to be thick and goopy. That's what this tool is really used for, and I use it for ceramics to cut the clay. Now if you have another tool that you want to use, you can use plastic knives. Those things are not sharp, that you could trust a kindergartner with and it'd be just fine. If you have some money and you actually have some ceramic tools, go get a Fettling knife, which this is a Fettling knife. It is a metal blade, but it is blunt. It is not sharp, but it is used for ceramics to cut and actually get around and cut out the clay really well. Now, if you want to go high end and you can really trust your students and you can use an X-Acto, I've done that in the past. That also works. I don't really recommend the X-Acto blades because the clay, the moisture in the clay does oxidize the blade, those kinds of blades, a lot faster. Now, some other basic tools that we've got a glue stick, marker. I can't stack them anymore, but we got a couple pencils. We got a regular pencil, we have a coloring pencil, a wooden chopstick, and then a nice wooden paintbrush. Now these are simple things that you guys already have around the classroom, things that you guys can use to make your ceramic pieces without actually having to go get the specialty tools. Because here's the thing with clay. All clay joins together in the wet state at some point. Now if it is at that leather hard where it's been drying out for a few days, it'll stand up on its own. If you hold it out, it'll actually hold its shape and it won't bend, such as like the end that I have on my owl piece here. That leather hard state, you do need to add some slip to it, but then again, water, clay, let that thing melt down in. I have all these little cups around my room that we use to put water in, flung water on myself. All my students have one of these to use in front of them so that they can add water to it real quickly, make that slip and use it at their station so they're not walking around. So if walking around is an issue for you, get something that's small that is kind of set to that one student's workspace. Again, simple tools. So chopsticks, if you have an Asian farmer's market, because they're usually really good about stocking different types, different lengths, and different materials on these things, try and hit one of those up so you can get some really cool things. Love an ethnic supermarket. So many cool things that are not in like a Publix or a Kroger or a Safeway or something, like some people who have that, thanks out west. So you have all these different tools at your disposal that's really easy, accessible to use without having to go again. You're not buying specialty tools for this, you're using what you already have. Markers, the end of the marker can be used as a tool, the side of the marker can be used as a tool. This is plastic, it will rinse off, and especially if it's a Crayola brand. Glue stick, I keep my caps on really tight. Again, you can use this as a rolling pin if you don't have a rolling pin, but these are things that you can do just the same. Also, if you need to, for this piece, we're gonna be flattening out clay. If you need to flatten out clay, marker, glue stick, your own hands. If I'm doing it by hand, I will take the clay and smash it in my hand and kind of squish it down in a flat style. So instead of rolling it like a coil, I will squish it, sliding my hands back and forth like this down the clay to get that smooth texture of the clay. Also, you can pinch it like pizza dough. Instead of throwing it up in the air, just pinch it and rotate it a little bit as you're pinching it, and that'll also give it that disc, and then you can flatten out that disc even further. So for this, we're going to be making simple owl. You're using a lot of different applications, a lot of different texture applications in this. So a couple things I want to go over here with you is texture on the piece, how you stack, so how are we adding elements together, and then finally for this one we're using variety. So variety, you want to show different variety through different textures on your piece. Give that full roundedness of your projects as always. Different textures, stacking those elements together so we see sequential order, how you sequence items, how you go from step A, B, C, D, and so forth all the way up. And then the last one, they're doing a wonderful art piece out of clay. All right, so before you get started on it, you always want to do out a sketch. Now for me, on my piece, now for teachers here, if you want to do, let's do it this way. If you want to copy this, photocopy this as a sheet and then laminate the two together, or print them front and back and then laminate them as a step, that would be really cool too, so that your students, as they're making the piece, they can do it right on top of this and use it as a placemat, making the pieces on top of it. Because it's laminate, the clay, you can pick it up, pull pull the clay off. I will say this, because of laminate paper, it's not a porous surface, so clay will tend to stick to that stuff. So if you can have the kids kind of draw this out on paper, the paper will get soggy after the one usage, but then they can throw it away. But they can put it on top, their paper on top of this, trace the design, especially if you've laminated this and used Sharpie to draw this stuff out. That Sharpie really pops through that paper, so it's easy to see, easy to retrace. Students can then trace it out, cut out those shapes, lay them on top of the clay, use the pencil to score the shape around, then come back with a knife or a tool to finish the cut around the design, and that'll pull out that clay and give you that nice cookie cutter shape. So a couple pieces that we're gonna be making today. One, you're gonna be making the chest plate, which is kind of like an upside down egg guitar pick style piece. Then the two wings here, they look like bass clef designs. Boop. On the back side, we're gonna do a circle for the head, nice round globe piece for that, triangle for the nose, two circles for eyes, two Y shapes, looks like a Triton. Do that because of Sheldon from Big Bang. Tines of 3 are Tritons, and to rule the sea, tines of 4 is a fork. FYI for those that are aficionados of Big Bang Theory. And then the last piece here, a fun little trapezoid design. Now that trapezoid is gonna be our tail fin that we're gonna be using on the back side of the piece. Now, as I said before, you guys can laminate these pieces here to make it to where your kids can work, students can work on this a lot easier when they're tracing out the clay. I also have a laminator buddy, got scrap laminate that was being discarded and being thrown away, so the students can use this to create their own tracer pieces. That way they can store them if they need to make a series of pieces. And I use this really for series work, where students will trace their designs on it, cut it out, and then they can put that in their cubby, keep that storage piece going, and they can work on that piece later on down the road. Also, don't forget the tubes. If they have these tubes in your recycle bin, these things are nice, they're super thick. See how thick that is? I love that because these are instant rolling pins. All you gotta do is take off the last of the laminate. All right, there's like a lot on this. I had a backup. So once you take off all the laminate, you can then have this nice cardboard tube that you can use as a rolling pin as well. This is nice. Now down to these will not last forever. They last about a month, maybe 2. It depends on how many clay projects you do. The moisture that gets into the cardboard does start to tear it down. It does start to just go bad, and you gotta throw it away, you gotta recycle it. That's why you have recyclable elements. So using this to roll out the clay also is a nice little feature. I like a nice thick one like this because the bigger that you can roll, the less force you actually have to use. So having a little kid using one of these smaller ones, sometimes they'll get that chunk of clay in front of them and they can't go over it as easy. Getting something that's a little thicker in diameter, it's easier for them to roll over that. Just a little helpful tip for you guys who have the super little ones. This project here is not for just the little ones, this is for advanced kids as well. This is great for high school group because they can see a sequence in what they're building. They can understand that there are levels to the structure of the design as we're doing coil pieces later on down the road. Seeing how those elements stack together, how clay is supposed to be pushed together, doing small elements together, helps them understand how clay is supposed to fuse at an earlier state. Usually my entry level ceramics classes are great for this. And then for elementary and middle school students, these are good, simple projects you guys can do. Kindergartners can do this. I've had, I think the youngest I've ever had this do was 4. So little pre-K kids can do this just the same, all the way up to 5th grade. Everybody gets to take something home. What I would do is vary the elements that you're adding onto it. Sometimes you might want to do a backboard to it. Like on here, I have mine sitting on one of our tiles. So the tile would be an additional piece that they could build elements onto and then add their owl design as well, and then build other elements and add glaze and make it a full done piece. It's however you want to stack these things up. Lots of tips, lots of techniques that you can employ into this. It's a good, well-rounded project. All right, let's go to how to actually build this thing.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and
can you see it? The worst is over. The monsters in my head are scared of love. Falling people, listen up. It's never too late to change our love. So don't let them steal your life. Don't let them break your stride. There's light on the other side. You'll see all the raindrops falling behind. It's a revolution, and we'll make it out tonight. It's a revolution. 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 It's a revolution.
Awesome class. I hope that you enjoyed that video, understanding how to actually build your ceramic owl and getting the overall tutorial of that. As always, let's take care of the homework. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share on all the various platforms. As always, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hands down in the comments below. Happy to answer those questions for you. As always, I will see you guys next class. Until then, later guys.